So, Claire Moriarty, can you name one lesson or idea from abroad that's helped you or your colleagues?
So I think one of the things that made a big impression on me was there was a lot of interest in the health service in some of the examples from Sweden, where they'd had really successful models of health service. And I remember somebody coming back and giving a talk about it at one point. And the thing they said that was really striking was, well, of course, everybody in the top team of this health system had been in place for 15 years. And it was a time when probably the average tenure of a CEO in an NHS trust or foundation trust was about 18 months. And just actually the what you can do when people stay in post for a considerable length of time, and you build up, you build the relationships, you build the knowledge of an understanding, and that we think it's about have we got the right policies, but actually continuity of people is hugely important.
Yeah, thank you. And are there any projects or innovations from this country that might be valuable to your peers overseas?
So I think the thing that is really interesting, which we do more of in the UK than elsewhere, is quite a lot of focus on behavioural insights. So in the behavioural insights team, all of the things that we've done around nudge, and quite a sort of sophisticated approach to thinking about what is the range of levers that we have, whether that's regulation, taxation, grant giving, and what is the right lever to use to make a particular outcome happen. Sometimes, certainly dealing with countries together across Europe, there's quite a quick desire to go for a target, and targets are good for some things, but not for everything. So that sense of understanding what causes people to take a particular course of action and nudging them towards it is, I think, a really interesting lesson from the UK.
Thanks. How can we improve the ways in which senior public officials work with and learn from their colleagues overseas?
Creating opportunities for them to get to know each other and talk to each other. I had a fantastic experience when I was a young civil servant, and I went to Paris and did the Cycle International of the École Nationale d'Administration, which is where the French senior civil servants train. So I understood, I learned about how the French system worked, but I also worked with people from a lot of countries, and it just expanded my mind about how things worked. And I think opportunities for people not just to kind of learn a bit about what's happening, but actually to have the conversations that understand that enable us to understand how what makes other people tick in different countries. That would create such a valuable resource for building better global systems.
This is a big question. You can define the word field however you choose here, but what are the biggest global challenges in your field over the next, currently?
So I'm going to define it quite broadly, as I don't have a specific field at the moment. And I think I would pick out two things. One is, climate change and biodiversity. It is such a massive global challenge. We know so little about how to fix it, and there's a tendency to focus on small things that we can do something about, and not really understand what are the things that are going to make the most difference. But and it is biodiversity as well as climate change. So I think that is one massive priority. I think the other thing, more from a how point of view, is it is really kind of digging into the sense of the interaction of people, policies, and what happens in broader systems. There is a tendency for governments to think that you make a policy and then it happens, and things change as a result. And I think increasingly we're dealing with really complex ecosystems. In many cases, international ecosystems. Governments don't have direct levers to make things happen. And one of the things that we're seeing with some of the COVID policies is that it's like a chemical reaction. You've got a policy, and then you've got lots and lots of different people with different preoccupations, and the way the policy lands and how it impacts is hugely different. And really spending time understanding what's happening in that interaction between government policies and people, and using that to inform the way that we take decisions, so that we are actually doing the things that matter most for any big policy area, whether it's climate change or anything else.
Okay, thank you. And what is your favourite book?
Well, when I was younger, I used to be able to read a lot, and when my children were born, I found it more difficult. So my favourite book is one of two things. It's either the book I've most recently read, which at the moment is the Bernardine Evaristo Girl, Woman, Other, which I thought was fantastic. The other thing, which has been my kind of book of 2020, my book of COVID and lockdown, is the Collins Field Guides to Wildflowers. One of the things that lockdown gave me was the opportunity to because I had to stay very local, and I live in an area where there are lots of wildflowers. I put my time to good use and really focused on what I was seeing right down at the level of my shoes. And I've learned a lot about flowers and spent a lot of time looking them up in the book and trying to work out what they were.
Thank you very much. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Claire.